I gotta admit something. Before I even watched this movie, I started laughing hysterically at the plot description because who would ever envision a guy named Gary Johnson to ever be a hitman?
Who is your hitman?
Welcome back everyone to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're doing another movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Hitman, the newest movie from Richard Linklater starring Glen Powell. I'm so excited to talk about this. Before we get started though, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're under 1,000 subscribers. It's free to do so. Helps me out a lot. I'm going to read you guys a quick plot synopsis just so you know what the movie is about. Professional killer Gary Johnson breaks protocol to help a desperate woman trying to flee an abusive husband and finds himself falling for her. All right, let's get this out of the way. I absolutely loved this movie. It's grounded, but it also has so many interesting layers to it. Hitman is a hit. Let's just say that. No pun intended, but it's a hit. Go out and watch this as soon as you can. This is going to be no spoilers, as I said in that intro. But man, I thought that this is fantastic. Lived up to the hype for me. I've been waiting to watch this movie for I don't know how long, 6-7 months, and it's finally on Netflix, which is something that we got to talk about because Netflix movies, we always got to bring it up. But I got to say, I hate that Netflix was the one to acquire this movie because, I hate on Netflix a lot, but there's a reason to it because they're struggling in the movie business, but they're good in the TV show business. I will give that to they're great business, but their movies just are not good. The original movies are not good. And, if I see people talking about this being like, oh, Netflix has a great original movie on their hands, I'm gonna be like, fact check. This is not Netflix's movie. They did not make this movie because this premiered at fall film festivals last year, a couple of them, and it had great reviews, great people talking about it, but no studio wanted to pick it up for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe they thought it couldn't make any money, and maybe they didn't want to market it enough, so Netflix ended up buying it for $20 million. But let me tell you this. So how did no studios think this could make any money when Anyone But You released in December? And how much did that make? Like a couple, like hundreds of millions? It's crazy. Like a movie of that quality, they think that this movie couldn't make even that, and it's like even it's at a greater quality than that movie. Like, how would this movie make no money? I don't understand studios sometimes. The bad thing about this movie is that hardly anyone got to see it in theaters. Some people did, but most people didn't. Like, it went to very limited theaters. Like, most people are going to watch this in their home, which is fine, which for me personally isn't the optimal viewing experience for a movie, because for a new movie I want to go see this in a theater. I want to go see this with the crowd because that would have been amazing. And so all I really want to say is I wish some other studio would have busted the courage and took this movie and bought it and released it in theaters instead of releasing their other terrible movies that they pay more for. Studios, they don't make any sense. They would rather release some terrible movies that have a bloated budget compared to this movie with only like $9 million budget. I don't know. Anyone But You made so much money. This movie is so much better than Anyone But You. So I don't like it. I mean, it's on Netflix, so a lot more people are going to get to watch it, but the better experience in theaters just won't get to happen for a lot of people, including me. But I'm still happy I saw it, and I absolutely loved it. And yes, you may be surprised, as I was the first time I found this out is actually inspired by a true story that Linklater first read about more than 20 years ago. And then in the COVID lockdown, he finally discussed the idea of adapting that said article into this movie we have today. But sadly, the real Gary Johnson died in 2022, right before this movie was going into production. But this movie is dedicated to him. But let's be real. This version of Gary Johnson is a more turned up version than the real Gary, but he was actual like a hitman who was a no nonsense investigator in Houston that helped facilitate lots of murders for higher cases. So he really did do most of this stuff, but he wasn't like as turned up as Glen Powell is in this movie. And you can also read the Real Hitman article if you search Texas Monthly Hitman on Google. It's from 2001. It's a great read talking about all the people that tried to hire Gary and to take someone out, that they were and these people kind of maneuvered Gary like they wanted to make him seem to commit this crime. And lots of attorneys tried to go against him, but he just stuck to the job, and he was really badass doing it. Like, he took so many people down doing this, and so many people wanted to take him down, being like, oh, Gary made me try to get these people murdered. And it's like, no, you are actual bad people who want to get people murdered, but there's no actual hitman. It's just Gary, the fake hitman behind everything, facilitating all this. So it's awesome to hear, this is actually a real guy, kind of. It's inspired, so it's kind of like loosely inspired, but it's based off a real guy. And I thought that was an awesome thing to hear, and I really do recommend you checking out that article because it's a great read. And as I said, this is directed by the one and only legendary Richard Linklater. I think one of the best directors of all time, who I think is known for making some fantastic feel-good movies. You know, he's known for the Before trilogy, which I haven't seen yet. I really need to go watch that. Boyhood, Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused is like one of the most, I don't know, it's the most one of the most known movies of all time. I think so many people have seen it. School of Rock. I remember watching that for the first time in History of Rock. It was such a great movie, and many more. He also had Apollo 10 and a half. Come on, not too long ago. That's a really interesting and really actually well-made animated movie that I really think you should check out. It's also on Netflix, and while I haven't seen all of his movies, I still think Hitman is one of his best yet. This is clearly, you know, a passion project for him, you know, 20 years kind of in the making, and he knew what he wanted to do with it, and it turned out to be hit. Also, no pun intended. I keep saying it, but it's no pun intended. It's just a hit of a movie. And this film kind of relies on narration from Glen Powell, or you could say from Gary Johnson, because that's who Glen Powell plays in this one. You know, it's films like this why I really love narration in movies, because when it works, it really works. And I also love the way Linklater kind of implemented movie clips of hitmen. Like you see in a lot of movies, people are hitman. Like there's just, it's happening a lot in movies, and people kind of envision that kind of thing. And so how he uses the clips in here is great. How he uses the narration is great. It's like it plays into the meta commentary very well. I love the script here because there's so many memorable lines. There's a ton of laugh out loud scenes in here, but what really got to me was the great one-liners. Like, I'll remember these for a while. I'm only going to talk about one from the trailer, but I'm not going to spoil these lines. But once you hear them, you'll be like, you'll just stick in your mind. You'll be saying that around the house for like days. But the one in the trailer that really gets me is when Retta's character says, "Okay, Daniel Day." I'm like, that's so simple but so memorable at the same time, because you all know Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's about his acting, because this is basically an acting job as being a fake hitman. So it's a great line, and this film kind of operates on different genres. I mean, you could say that it tries to land its feet in so many different genres, because at one point it's a comedy, at another point it's a drama, at another point it's a steamy romance movie. Then it gets really dark and intense. Like, it's all over the place, but it somehow ends up working, and all of them mesh together in such an interesting way, and it just ends up landing in the end, which I think is great. Like, Linklater just truly mastered his craft with this one. Let's talk about our cast. Let's talk about the main lead, which is Glen Powell as Gary Johnson. We all know love in Glen Powell from first appearing in Spy Kids 3D. Yep, that was one of his first roles. I don't like that movie, but as a kid, I liked it. He has now come a far way, a long way, starring in Top Gun Maverick and Anyone But You last year. And let me tell you something after watching this that, you know, you'll think about for a while if you do watch this, because if after you watch this, you'll feel like he had no chemistry with Sydney Sweeney, because this movie right here is true chemistry. That romance in Anyone But You was pile shit compared to this. I'm like, God, Sydney Sweeney, what happened? Because Glen Powell's so electric here. I mean, it's Glen Powell's summer, and we're just living in it. He already has this amazing movie out, which, go check it out, please. It's so good. And then we're getting Twisters next month, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks great. I mean, who doesn't love a fun popcorn movie with fire tornadoes and maybe another flying cow? Who knows? But for real, he's becoming a true star, and that's because he's good at what he does. I know some people aren't really that hyped for Twisters, but for me, I think the trailers are great. The cast looks great, and already Twisters does great one-liners too. It's like, if y'all feel it, chase it. I'm just so excited for Twisters. It's gonna be great. And his performance, or I guess you could say performances, because he plays like multiple people in here, are serious, hilarious, and also pretty nerdy. Because his Gary Johnson, his actual role in this, the actual real guy, it's a very nerdy role, and you know, it's kind of hard to see it at first, because Glen Powell you don't see as like a nerdy guy. And you know, I think this is easily one of the best roles he's ever had. I think it's my favorite. I don't know if it's some other people's favorite, but the funny thing about this one is that one of the hitman alter egos he has is named Ron. That's basically just Glen Powell being Glen Powell at this point. But Glen Powell, man, I'm so proud of him. He's doing so great. Man appeared in so many small roles, including Spy Kids, Dark Knight, and all those. But he's finally getting his pay, finally getting his due, and this is Glen Powell's summer. And Adria Ahorna is the other lead in this role. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but I'm really happy for her after now being in two fantastic projects with this and Andor. I love Bix in Andor. That's her character. She played in Andor, one of the best Star Wars projects of all time. I can't wait to see where her character goes in that. but she was also in some pretty terrible projects. So it's good that she's finally in something great. Her terrible projects were like Six Underground, Morbius, and her next movie this summer, she actually has a new movie coming out this summer, is Blink Twice, which is that Channing Tatum movie. I think Zoe Kravitz is directing that. Trailer is out if you want to go check that out. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. But man, she is drop dead gorgeous. No wonder Gary Johnson fell for her. Like, bam, dude. The great thing about Maddie, which is the character that she plays, is that you never know her true intentions. She's pretty mysterious at the start, and what she's trying to plan some things and you never know if she's really good at the beginning or bad. She's very, very mysterious. And the information that we get is only what, Gary gets or Ron gets, because that's who she knows Gary as. It's just the hitman alter ego here. And I will say that the chemistry between her and Glenn is perfect and off the charts. As I said, this is true chemistry, not like that anyone but you childish crap. Like, I get they're actors, but at the same time, how do you not fall in love with each other after this crazy stuff? Steamy stuff, it's crazy. And you got Austin Emilion and Retta give memorable performances with great lines from both of them and great scenes for both of them. I really did like Austin a lot, especially when he's acting opposite Glenn. Some great stuff by all the cast here. This is just under 2 hours, and for me it was perfect, and I even kind of wanted more of just Glenn dressing up and having fun with the hitman alter egos, and in the chemistry between him and Adria. I was like, this is just great. This is great stuff. It's so grounded. I want more of this. I just want a whole TV show about this. This could have worked as a great miniseries too. It's a story that I think a lot of people will love. So overall, Hitman is terrific, and easily it's a top 3 favorite of the year for me so far. I wish I'd gotten the chance to see it in theaters, but I'm still happy I got to watch it overall on Netflix, and I'm still happy that a lot of people are going to, watch it. Hopefully it ends up being #1 in Netflix in a couple days. Hopefully it does get some reach out there. Richard Linklater, I think, is back in peak form. Glen Powell and Adria Arjona are both electric and share some sexy, sexy chemistry. There's some unforgettable scenes and lines that I loved. I can't wait to rewatch it over and over again. So I'm going to give Hitman a strong 9.5 out of 10. And I'm not going to be afraid to increase this on a rewatch. So follow my letterbox if you want to see my rating after rewatch. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's such a great story, such a great acting ensemble, such a great performance by Glen Powell, my favorite yet. So yeah, go watch this on Netflix. It's literally free to do so. Almost everyone has Netflix. But yeah, if you watch Hitman, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. If you did enjoy this review though, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.